Welcome to Uncut with Lucia, and thank you for joining us. Today, we are speaking with Pat Backley. Pat is a mother, speaker, consultant, and author. She has published 6 books in only 18 months and is now participating in the anthology Relatable Voices. Pat also co-authored a best-selling coffee table book entitled The Warrior Women Project. Her latest books, 70 Years Worth Travel and Valentine George, are out now. So my dear Pat Backley, welcome to Uncut with Lucia.
Thank you so much, Lucia. Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be speaking to you again.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. And we spoke already 2 times for the podcast. So I interviewed you on the Relatable Voice podcast many times, and I can say that I know you quite well. But can you share with our audience a little bit about you?
Yes, of course. You can probably tell by my accent that although I live in New Zealand, I'm actually English. I lived in England until I was 59 years old and then decided to emigrate to New Zealand. So I now live in Auckland in New Zealand. And I became a writer just 18 months ago at the beginning of lockdown. I was very fed up, we all had to get into lockdown. I was on my own and I spent 2 weeks lying on the sofa eating too much chocolate and watching rubbish on Netflix. And then I thought, Pat, this is just ridiculous. You've got to get on and do something. Why don't you write a book? So I did. I wrote my first book called Daisy. And my new author career started from there.
Yes, and that's fabulous. I have Daisy. Let me see if I can show to our audience. It's difficult. Okay, I have Daisy as well. And I really love not only the story, but also the cover. Daisy is my favorite flower.
Yes, it's a very nice, bright cover that attracts the eye quickly. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So you started writing less than 2 years ago, and since then you didn't stop writing and publishing great books, I have to tell you.
That's right. I think it's kind of, once you start, you can't stop. I often say that it's almost as though someone's taken off the top of my head and 70 years worth of words are just flying out, because I just find it so easy. I just get an idea, I sit at my computer, and a few weeks later a book's done. So I now intend to write until I die. I just love doing it.
You're such an inspiration. And Pat, so why did you decide to become a writer at age 69?
I have always loved writing, but never imagined I'd write a book. Like in the olden days, which you don't remember because you're far too young, when we used to write letters, when there was no internet and all that stuff, we wrote letters. I always loved writing long letters, 6, 7, 8-page letters. I'm not sure if people enjoyed receiving them, but I enjoyed writing them. So the writing has always been in my head, I think. But if it hadn't been for lockdown and the fact that my husband abandoned me, I probably would never have become a writer.
You can become a writer at any age, and having more life experience may actually make you a better writer on certain topics. What do you think?
I agree. I think what it also does is it gives you a much wider range of things to write about, because you've had, like me, I'm now 71. I've had 71 years of experiences, good and bad. So I can draw on those to write my books. And I often laugh when I reread the books once they're published. And I think, that's where I got that idea from. And I don't realize at the time when I'm writing it, but it would just be something in my past that's triggered a memory or a kind of a person, or so I would agree. Being older is actually an advantage in many ways.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you, Pat. And also, actually, I just read this new book, your new book. So actually, I've just finished reading your travel memoir, 70 years worth traveling. I can't stop now. I can't stop thinking about visiting Fiji. Of course, among other places you visited. And I love the cover as well. So, Pat, you lived in Fiji for 2 years.
Yes, I went there when I was just 25. So I think that's a very formative age because, you know, you're just becoming really the person you're always going to be. And coming, if you can imagine going there from England to the Fiji Islands, which are in the South Pacific, the contrast was enormous. And as I said before, in those days, there was no internet. So the only thing I knew about the tropics was from encyclopedias and things. I had no idea even about the change in temperature because we left England in the winter, got there, well, Fiji, the weather's the same mostly all year round, but we got there at 5 in the morning and the heat was so intense as we got off the plane. I just thought, oh, I've died and gone to heaven because I love the warmth. And yeah, and so I spent 2 very happy years there and it became my spiritual home really. And then from England, it was a long way to travel back. But I did it a couple of times. And then of course, now I live in New Zealand, it's only 3 hours away. So when we don't have COVID, then I can go often. I actually owned a house there as well for a while. So I used to go there all the time and I have a huge extended Fijian family. So yeah, it's my spiritual home, really.
And I'm happy that you are very close to Fiji. From New Zealand to Fiji, how long does it take to get there?
Only 3 hours. 3 hours door to door. So it's very quick.
Yeah, for me it will take longer, but Fiji is already on my bucket list, but because of you, of course.
Good.
So back to your books. It all started in 2020 with a historic saga entitled Daisy. And now you've published another book with the same genre. So how do you research for your books? And can you tell us about this new book as well?
Of course I can. If I could just start on Daisy, my first one. It's a novel, but it draws in a lot of experiences that I've had. Like it touches on racism and slavery and is based in England, well, London, Alabama and Harlem, both places of which I visited. And obviously I used to live in London. So all of those things were drawn in. So I didn't have to do too much research, just historical dates and things for that. And then I decided to write the second Daisy, the sequel. And basically that goes right up to the new millennium. And again, draws, it's again based in London, New York, Harlem and Alabama. So again, based on places that I know quite well. So the research wasn't too much. But then I wrote my personal memoirs because I've had a pretty interesting life. And then I decided to write the travel memoir only because I was at a conference and there was this very attractive young Italian man talking, and he was a travel writer. And I was quite mesmerized listening to him. And I thought, I could do that. I could write a travel memoir. I've done some great travel. So I wrote that, and that's basically, it's not a travel guide. It's really to amuse rather than instruct. So you can just dip in, dip out, pick up little stories from different places I've been. And then I thought, actually, I loved writing the historical fiction novels. So I decided to write this one, Valentine George, my latest. And that's actually based on my grandfather's life. That's his silhouette on the front cover. I actually got a photograph of him and the cover designers put it on. And the background is a London scene lit by gaslight because he was born in the late 1800s when London was lit by gas. So I loved doing the research for that because he died when I was 17. I knew a lot about his life, but historically I had to do a lot of research to find out what happened in those years and about the wars that he went through. And Yeah, absolutely fascinating. And also, I think on the front it says, an ordinary man who lived through extraordinary times, because I do believe quite firmly that there's enough books written about well-known glamorous people, but there's not much written about ordinary people and their day-to-day lives. So I kind of feel now it's a bit of a mission for me to write stories about ordinary people. So this one is the first in my new Ancestors series. I've already got another one written that's with my editor, and I'm now going to write lots and lots all about my different ancestors, fictional, but based on real people.
And you know, Pat, I can see it in your books that you write about ordinary people. And I think that it is important to show the reality as well as the glamorous side of life.
Yes, yes, I agree.
And you know, my favorite superhero was Spider-Man. Since I was a kid, I love Spider-Man, who was an underdog.
Yes.
So Batman was not my favorite. So Pat, why do you use this style?
I think I feel very strongly, again, I'm just going to quote from my own book. On the front cover of my first book, Daisy, I wrote, "The life you are born into is an accident of birth. How you live that life is what really matters." And I think that's the core of everything I believe, really, that, you know, just because you're born rich or famous or whatever, doesn't make you a better person than the road sweeper. And so in some way, I kind of try to weave that into all my books, because I feel it very strongly. I grew up in a very poor family and I suffered from snobbery and bullying and kind of that kind of thing. So I know what it's like to be not treated well just because of your background. So I guess being an author means that you can write what you like. So this way I can weave all those stories into my books.
Oh, that's beautiful. And in your opinion, what makes a good story?
Well, I was brought up on all the old classics, you know, Dickens and the Austens and that kind of thing. So I guess I've always just loved good literature, which keeps you enthralled. I mean, I get very excited when people say, "Oh, I read your book from cover to cover in 2 days." That's wonderful because it shows that it's holding their attention. Because sometimes you get books, like I've tried to read War and Peace 100 times, and I get a fraction through and then I get bored and I put it down. It's a great book, but I haven't got obviously the mental ability to stick with it. So you watch the film instead, which is just really the easy way out. So I think I just want to always write books that amuse people. They're not supposed to be highbrow, not literary geniuses, but just books that people will enjoy reading, and hopefully the thoughts will stay with them, you know? Yeah.
I like it. And I really like your style, Pat. And I'm so happy because you are one of the 14th authors of Relatable Voice anthology. And what are your expectations about it?
Well, already my expectations have been met because I've now got 13 or 12, because you were already my friend, someone I'd met. But I've got all these new people that I would never have known otherwise, my co-authors. And already, even before the book's published, we've kind of formed relationships and friendships. And that is the initial wonderful thing for me. But we just really want to cheer people up. You know, the last couple of years have been just dreadful for everyone throughout the world. So you obviously came up with the idea of writing this wonderful book. And we've all just tried to do our bit by writing little stories that will just hopefully make people smile. That's it, really. That's my expectation, I think. And obviously, I hope that people will enjoy it. I expect that people will enjoy it.
Yes, me too. Yes, the
Mm.
idea is to make people smile, lift them
Yes.
up, or just read something that they will feel special. I don't know.
Yes.
So, Pat, I am super happy to have you with us on the bus for this anthology. And I also would like you could leave a message to our audience.
Okay, well, I'm not sure quite what message you would like me to leave, but I think I would like to say that everyone says that reading my books is like listening to me speak. So if your audience likes the way I speak, they will probably like my books. If they hate the way I speak, they will hate my books. So I think that's probably just the best message for me to leave, really.
I love it, but I can tell you that I love the way you speak.
Thank you.
So, Pat, where can we find you and your 6 books plus the anthology online?
Okay, well, my website is just patbackley.com, so that's nice and easy. My books are available on all the leading things like Amazon, Barnes and Noble, just everywhere really, and they're available in paperback or ebook. Yes, so pretty much anywhere. If you just type my name in, everything tends to pop up quite easily. So.
Yeah, I've been seeing you in many
Yes.
interviews, in magazines, and yes, you are all over the place. And I have to tell you that I am very proud to be your friend, Pat.
Oh, thank you, Lucia. Well, I'm very proud to be yours. So it's a mutual admiration society. You do a wonderful job to promote us authors. So thank you.
Thank you too. So thank you for watching this interview, and I hope you like it.